Space. The thing we have to cross. These are the voyages of the USS Horizon. Its ongoing mission, to seek out new life, to swear it was on stun the whole time, and to boldly claim we can fix it.
Welcome back to the Terrible Warriors. I'm your game master for this, our return to Star Trek Adventures. We continue with the living campaign that is still being released by Modiphius. We're playing now the adventure that was released in September 2017, and so we're obviously playing some months removed. That's part intentional and part I'm lazy. We are back with the crew of the Horizon. I'll introduce them around the table. Today's adventure, written by Aaron Polia, is titled The Tug of War. But first we need to reconnect with our crew, both returning and never left. We have some catching up to do here on the show, because some haven't been around for a while. First, we will start with those who never left us, starting at my right, your left.
Joshua Barbeau playing First Officer Commander Conal Haddock.
Yes, the war hero criminal himself. You took a reputation hit after your events of the last campaign.
I did.
So
my reputation dropped.
There's
9 points for those EQ.
There's some attention on you here. It didn't drop by 9 points. It dropped to 9 points.
9 points.
And
from wherever it was.
Yeah. So there's some brass there going
29 points.
We're not sure if that promotion to commander is working out, because within months of it, he has killed everything in sight. Meanwhile,
I saved a lot of people.
Wondering when his promotion is ever going to come, we have
Brent Morris from the Showhole Podcast playing Ensign Steve Armstrong.
Yes, the ace fighter shuttle pilot now.
Yeah.
No commendation medals. No, nothing added into your record. Just a pat on the back, going, great, get back to work.
Yep.
Need to mop up this hallway.
Exactly.
You're the Harry Kim of the crew.
Oh no! Don't say that. Playing for 9 years, nothing will happen.
You've heard his voice. He's back on the show. Our science officer returns.
I am Velvet Duke of the Dandies. I am the Bajoran Science Officer, Lieutenant Bo Lassa.
And while you might not make it to every Star Trek Adventures, you never miss a Holodeck Follies.
Holodeck Follies is a monthly improvised Star Trek tale. We make up episodes on the spot at Comedy Bar here in Toronto.
And it's which Saturday of each month?
Right now it is the second Saturday.
Currently the second Saturday of each month. So that means you can go next week, because this is the beginning of March, I think. Travel.
You will not be able to go next week because we will be at Comic-Con.
Comic-Con! So they're on hiatus, but come back in April. And then back from the show, you haven't been a part of the living campaign, but he lives!
I do live! Steve Saylor, a.k.a. the Blind Gamer. I'm back playing Lieutenant Commander Adam Monroe. The Chief Engineer is back, baby!
Yep.
And you guys better not have ruined my ship.
Back from your mandatory medical leave
Apparently.
after the Klingon stressed you out.
That totally works because I can't remember how I played this character, so if I come back with a few quirks, that's why.
Okay, so this is a Geordie back from vacation, secretly a Romulan spy storyline then.
Did any holograms while you're gone?
I no comment.
Are you currently being controlled by a slug in your brain? Is that a little maggot?
There was that one weird night. I don't know.
Yeah. And joining us from our Patreon rewards program, who will be playing a character as yet announced, we have
Ken, also known as Ken Rails Online, pretty much everywhere.
Yes, welcome to the show. Thank you for your support. And I've rolled up your character in advance, and we'll be. In fact, we can bring them in right now before we even start our episode proper. Steve, as Monroe. Sorry, I keep mixing up Monroe and Armstrong.
Because I'm
back to the good
Steve.
old times.
Yeah, Steve and
Steve. Just wanted to feel what it's like to be a Steve.
With a lot of hard work and determination. That's how I do it, man.
So we're going to start up our story with Armstrong. You are not in the scene. I'm talking to Monroe. Keep mixing up your names. We have Monroe. You the Horizon is. We're actually going to pick up the story in a few weeks, where the Horizon has been on mission. But we're doing a bit of a rewind here to a moment where, like, right before the cold open, and then after the cold open, it'll be like 3 weeks later. So the Horizon is about to be sent off on a proper survey mission of the Expanse to go out and explore planetary systems, because probes don't really get too much because of all the electromagnetic eddies. And now that the shields and sensors are working, and there have been paths that have been mapped through thanks to the work of Armstrong and other pilots like him, it's time to start actually exploring and surveying and making maps of this Expanse. And so you're getting ready to head out on a proper survey mission. Schofield, our captain, is currently on transit to Starfleet Command, to Starfleet Intelligence for a briefing on the Orion situation from the last episode, so he won't be around for this time. Everything else about his meeting is top secret. So Commander Haddock is.
I always assume it's Sector 31.
He's been put in charge and is going to be in command of this particular mission.
We haven't met yet.
So you two haven't met yet. So why don't the two of you can meet in a moment? But you have been given call that you're back from medical leave, and your engineering crew have been doing well. They're happy to have you back. But you're also getting a specialist that's being assigned to the Horizon, who's going to help with all the changes that have happened to, an aging Galaxy-class ship. Want to make sure the power systems are going to be able to handle everything that's going on. So you have been given a specialist in warp field dynamics and power systems. You remember him, actually, as you see on the manifest, and you're getting a little nervous and riled up about it when you saw the transfer request had been come in, and you're the department head, so you kind of have to sign off on it. But Haddock signs off on it without realizing, he's just a specialist, but he was also your really overbearing, friendly, little two-in-your-face, want to be your best friend professor from the academy.
Oh, son of a bitch. Not him.
It's a specialist, Kendrith Pike. So the second member of the crew, who named after a fish, has been assigned to the Horizon, and you're on your way to the transporter
Wait, he was
room.
my professor?
He was. He's an old hat in warp field dynamics and in power systems and efficiencies, and he's never really served on any one ship for most of his career. He's the kind of officer that is reassigned to do audits and look after and just be there to help lend a hand in hand. But you were never really able to get out of his shadow. While you're at the academy, because he's really good at what he does, and you recall him really letting you know how much you still had to learn. So here you are.
I'll never forgive him for giving me that fail in subspace mechanics.
You haven't seen him since the
bitch.
academy. You're now the chief engineer of one of the lead ships into the Shackleton survey, and you're on your way to the transporter room. Chief engineer Cherney, or now transporter.
So he's not one I tried to be able to impress.
You're not. There's no. I mean, that's up to you if he had an antagonism, but he has there's a value that we have written down that I'm going to reveal, Ken, if you don't mind, called taught Monroe everything he knows. So that's the kind of relationship, and I can see on your face. You know exactly how your character feels about this.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Screw him.
So you get a call.
I needed a vacation for my vacation.
So you get a call that the USS. I have it written down here. A runabout class. The new runabout.
As soon as I get my own ship.
The USS Susquehanna has shown up as a transport, and Lieutenant Commander Pike is ready to beam over to the Horizon. And so you...
out of protocol, I head to the transporter room to be able to greet him.
So Chief Cherney is there, and he sees you. It's good to have you back on board the ship. You're getting used to things, just like riding a bike, right, sir?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Great. Sorry, I'm a little distracted at the moment. Can we just get this over with?
Yes, sir. Commander Pike's already called ahead and ready to beam over as soon as you're ready.
Yeah. Might need a drink later. Just keep that on, just get 10 forward ready.
And kind of looks at you like, well, I guess still 1 foot back on vacation, sir.
Well, you'll understand why in a second.
Energizing. And Kendrith, Lieutenant Commander Pike, you beam on board.
So Pike is...
Describe how he looks, yeah.
He is a man of small stature. He is he's short. He's lived in space his whole life, so living in space kind of stunted his growth. So he's short, but he is built like a truck. And
You'd think he was a Tellarite if he wasn't already a human.
Sure. Okay.
And,
are you done
and so
describing?
you show,
or-
you describe you got like this big like what is it, a Dr. Light beard, and you're just like this short stature, jovial personality. And what's the first thing you do as soon as you beam off the pad?
Sir, welcome aboard to the USS Horizon.
sees Monroe,
Wel-
finishes that sentence, looks at Monroe, comes up, gives him the biggest, most crushing hug he could possibly imagine.
Oh, sir, it's great to see you again. Yes, hi. How are you? Hello, sir.
Doing fine, lad. Doing fine.
Would you like me to escort you to your quarters, sir?
I'd be swelly.
Okay, and so I
And he
let
marches
him,
out the door closes, the music swells.
I look back at the transporter chief and be like, I just mimic the drinking motion, be like,
you don't get
1,800 hours.
Oh my goodness. Okay, our chief engineer's an alcoholic. The music swells up. We go to the opening credits. We return to. It's been several weeks now. During this time, Lieutenant Commander Pike has been making himself comfortable in the engineering rooms, going over the power systems, making adjustments and efficiencies.
I let him work on one side of the engineering, and I work on the other side.
Well, I mean, he's been given clearance by Starfleet Command to full access to the engineering department.
Oh, I know. I purposely keep my distance and look busy.
He's known as well, speaking of going for drinks, of being in the mess hall and telling great stories of the chief engineer of his time as a cadet. All the stories from school, all the like, I remember him when he was just 17, fresh into the academy, didn't even know the difference between an ODN conduit and an EPS relay.
Oh, that's an
Classic
inside joke.
Monroe.
I'll have another Romulan ale, please.
This is a Federation ship. It's only synth the hell on this ship. We don't have a Guinan.
Oh, damn it. We need a guy in to give me Romulan ale.
Commander Haddock might have something in his
speaking of
personal
Romulan ale,
quarters.
We're gonna be fast friends.
There's a bit of tension on the ship as the survey now leading into the Sigma Libre sector of the Shackleton Expanse does bring us into. Remember, I've described the Shackleton Expanse is on the far end of the Beta Quadrant in a section of space that kind of shares borders with Federation Klingon and Romulan territory. This part of Sigma Libre is on the Romulan edge of the Shackleton Expanse. It's still neutral territory,
Sure.
but it's at a part where it's closer to Romulans than it is to the other two territories. So there's a bit of tension going on. I'm sure Haddock's been running drills and keeping people, on shift.
Have we met finally at this point?
So no, why don't we introduce our characters to each other, because we haven't seen them meet on screen. I mean, you're all part of the crew.
Yeah.
So there's a slight bit of tension here with where we are geographically
Okay,
on
sure.
the map.
Yeah.
You want to meet the commander?
Well, I think that's probably would have been the first thing I would have done.
So
getting
you're
back on
obviously in the
board.
mess hall laughing at one of Pike's jokes.
Yes.
Yes. So that's when you meet your commander.
Oh, right. Oh, awesome. Fantastic. I try to be able to get like the strongest synthahol I can grab from 10 forward from the bar. I grab two of them.
It's green.
It's green. Awesome. And I bring one over to Haddock and I say, Commander, it would do me an honor to be able to have a drink with you. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Oh, pleasure to meet you too, Monroe. What you got there?
It's green.
Oh, I'm
I'm going to
always,
take a sip.
I always love a good green drink.
Yes, sir. So how are you getting acclimated to the crew of the Horizon, sir?
I'm finding them well suited
Good.
to being a crew of a ship.
Fantastic. And how are you finding the ship as a whole? And I kind of like I just kind of gestured to it as because.
I mean, it's not the Enterprise, but
Never everything isn't the Enterprise.
No,
But
of
it's
course.
close enough.
Commander LaForge runs a tight ship over there. Of course, no one could be able to compare to him.
Well,
but-
he ran a tight ship. Like,
Ran
crashed
a
into a
tight ship.
planet.
Yeah.
He ran it right into
That's
the
not
ground.
his fault. It's not his fault.
You're right. It was the first officer's fault.
Anyway, you have a scheduled appointment at the holodeck with your Worf's calisthenics program. So
Yes.
you got to go out and get covered in blood again.
Yes,
So-
of course. We'll get caught up more later. And if you ever want something a little stronger than this, I've got stuff in my personal quarters.
Ooh, fantastic. Well,
Off the record, of course.
of course, sir.
Some bottles of Canar.
Romulan ale.
Lieutenant Bo was at the bar, also getting a couple of drinks with the intention of meeting the commander. But as he turns around, he realizes that the commander's left, and
I'll take that.
2 green drinks. Cheers.
We've met, though, right? We were on the...
Weren't you on?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You
Yeah,
were
yeah.
on the on the.
Look, I've
crashed
been
planet.
mourning. I don't remember.
I
I
understand.
don't remember anyone.
If you don't have strong enough pie, you've been erased.
Yeah, I hear that one. Yeah. Good to see you again.
You as well.
Yeah, you spent.
I had a decent vacation. I was. Oh shoot! Sorry.
How was my morning? It was better than my evening.
I'm sorry. I apologize. It's. I'm still trying to be able to get acclimate back into regular active.
Social
Into
Chill
being
graces.
nice with people, right?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Pike interrupts and interrupts this conversation and starts going on another yarn about Monroe, about how one time he screwed up during a speech presentation.
You should have seen him during his dissertation.
That wasn't my fault. It was the computer didn't load PowerPoint properly. I swear.
Space PowerPoint.
Why are you talking about
Excuses,
PowerPoint?
yeah.
Who uses PowerPoint anymore?
It was,
Hey,
it was
I
an historical
enjoy a good-
dissertation
yes.
on ancient user interfaces of the 21st
you know what?
century.
It was a great presentation about Clippy. All right. So
Somehow Clippy survived World War III. So nothing else. None of the other pop music.
I see it's an apocalypse. Would you like to escape?
So some time passes, some weeks, unless we got other. I mean, moving along, the you arrive in a system of called a HIP 73513 because this is uncharted space. Nothing has a fancy name, and
Sounds pretty
not
hip.
yet.
it catches the attention of your long-range scanners because it does possess in its system 2 M-class planets that are unusually in a binary orbit of each other. So 2 binary planets are quite unusual. Usually, like the case of Earth's moon, they're caused by collisions or, planets tend to clear out their own orbit. So it catches the attention of the science department. A request is put in, and the Horizon moves in to do a survey. And so it's at this. We have a log for you to read there from. For the commanding officer.
Captain's log, Stardate 48581.4. First Officer Haddock reporting. Captain Schofield is off reporting to Starfleet on the Orion situation. And in the meantime, we've been sent to HIP 73513 after detecting a pair of Trojan Class M planets. With the ship between both worlds at a gravitationally stable point, survey teams have been deployed to both planet surfaces and shuttles have been launched to investigate some orbital artifacts around each world, including debris near the Lagrange points of the worlds. What has become clear is that both worlds have recently, in astronomical terms, suffered extreme asteroid bombardments, and both are still in the midst of global impact winters and a mass extinction event. What will we find down there? Well, I'm sure we won't find is more blood and guts and pulmonary systems.
You're going off script. This is what.
But this is what Starfleet was made for.
So
And log.
So this is really
wait,
where
is
our
it-
campaign begins.
Is this inhabited?
This is where our campaign is really starting. Everything else is just kind of catch up for the purpose
Sure,
of the characters
of course,
returning. Our episode begins with the Horizon in a stable orbit between these 2 Trojan worlds, binary planets. and in an orbit between the two of them is able to remain in a way so that the shearing forces, the tidal forces aren't going to be
I was about to ask that,
a
yeah.
stress to the ship. And from there, the science department and the anthropological and archaeologists are all chomping at the bit because not only were these two Class M worlds, but these were two Class M worlds that seemed to have appearances of civilized life on them. However, cursory surface scans of the planet show that both worlds have been bombarded by massive asteroid impacts and are currently in the stage of a nuclear winter and mass extinction event that within only a few years, any life remaining on the planet will be all but gone, and most life already is. There seems to be no sign of surface life on the world. Most of the life detected is what remains in the oceans, but the ecosystems have been destroyed. It's a really fascinating chance to see a planet at this very small, in astronomical terms, a very small window of time where you either come across a world long dead or planets that haven't developed life yet. This is an interesting bit of scientific survey,
Especially since it's happening to two planets that
Two
are in
planets
a
in
binary orbit
Yeah,
at the same time.
Strange mystery that surrounds these two worlds that have yet to be named.
So-
and as the discoverers, I guess you can fight amongst yourselves on who gets to name the world. Certainly, head of the survey team has already got his idea on what to name these planets. And ships are deployed and beamed down to the surface of both worlds to just begin, getting soil samples and, scanning for life. And if anyone wants to join those teams, they can absolutely lead those away missions. There's also debris around the planets. The planet appears to have also been sublight capable. At least it appears there was a space program. There are space stations, more advanced than our International Space Station. Put yourselves at the early stages of Earth 22nd century, before warp. So there was a space program, and there are space stations. None of them have life on board, and there's things to explore there as well.
Are these space stations, does it look like there's evidence of a space program on both worlds or just the one world?
The technology appears to have been shared. There doesn't seem to be one or the other at a cursory glance. But if those are questions you'd like to look into, then we can start rolling for those. As bridge officers, you can go on the away missions yourself, or you can direct the teams that you have sent, and you can roll for them, and they can report back the information they have found.
So there was signs.
As you succeed at these rolls, remember, because of the mystery of this planet, this is going to be a lesson to remind Steve on the thing. When you succeed at the difficulty, for every additional success you get, you'll generate momentum. And in fact, some of that role play, I'm going to throw some momentum into the scene because we had some good moments there. You can spend momentum to gain information off. So you roll, and if it's successful, I'll give you an answer. But if you want to get more and you want to dig deeper and learn some more information, I have that. You can spend momentum in what's called a spend momentum for information. And that is something that we can absolutely use. It's also used, you can use momentum to purchase additional die to overcome challenge tasks, as well as if there's no momentum on the table, you can instead give the GM threat. Threat and momentum are on the same integer scale.
Okay.
Right? So threat is just my currency and momentum is your currency.
Sure.
But if you're out of yours, you can buy from the bank and take a loan, and I'll get threat instead. So you can also purchase dice by giving the GM threat. To use. And threat is used by me to complicate matters, to add injury, bring in reinforcements, any of those kinds of stuff.
Right.
I have started with 10 threat because there are 5 players at this game. So I get 2 threat for every player active in the session. You don't start with any momentum, but we did have some fun on when Ken beamed aboard. We did have some fun there in the mess hall when you met the commander, and of course Lassabo with your drink. So I'm throwing in 3 momentum to kind of grease the wheels and get things started.
All right, so
But you're in charge, Haddock.
Yeah.
It's not up to me. I can answer your questions here and lead the way, but this is an opportunity for the 5 of you to role play out this mystery. How would you like to survey these twin worlds?
here's what I'd like to do. I would like to send Lieutenant Bow here with, assuming you're interested in doing some research. I'd like to send Lieutenant Bow here along with our Ensign Armstrong and anyone else you think you need, any supplemental NPCs you think you need to take down to one of the planets to start analyzing the environment there.
Captain,
Yes.
Commander.
Oh.
Which would you prefer?
I'm acting
my
captain,
He would be
so
acting captain.
You are acting. That's true. Captain, I would prefer to go to the space station. So I believe that there's more information that I can gather there
About the peoples, for
about
sure.
the perhaps about the asteroid strikes, the direction, etc. Learn a little bit of whatever language they have. I think that the space station will be the pinnacle of their intelligence.
Well, I plan to do both. I wanted to send our engineer friend to the space station. But if you would like to go on the space
remember,
station,
we can send up to
We
we
six.
can send you
Because-
both there.
Because the scale of the horizon is 6, you can send up to 6 teams, like we did with the repair crews and
So-
the convoy. So you can have player characters at those teams, but you're also the science department head, Lassa.
yes,
So you can also
yes.
assign different. You have archaeologists and anthropologists and 19th century
Oh, I'm gonna
specialists.
send that.
'Cause this is
Oh,
a
yeah,
galaxy
yeah,
class
yeah.
ship, so it's got everything
So-
but the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
So we're going to send teams to both planets' surfaces.
Oh, those departments have already put in their they're
already there.
They're
Okay.
en route because they put in those requests the minute you came in,
Gotcha.
and we didn't go to red alert. They just started putting in requests right away. For
So we've
surveys.
already got people sent to the surface of both planets. While they're studying the planets, I want to send our Lieutenant Science Officer Bo, along with the others, take an away team, the 4 of you,
Yes.
to
Well,
that space station over there.
Chief Engineer Monroe, what are you interested here with this?
I'm interested in see if I can be able to get power back to the space station to see what information is in its databanks of the civilization that lived there. How far along technologically they were.
Yeah,
were they close to discovering warp? Were they not? Obviously, they had some
I
sort
think
of.
we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Thinking that we're here at like the briefing room, right?
Yeah.
And we're all kind of sharing ideas. I'd like Armstrong here to pipe in as well. What?
I'd like to see sort of how they design their technology. What sort of
Yeah, everyone seems to be focused on the technology.
Well, I
now,
have
so-
I have a real interest in in manufacturing and
I want to know what
experimental
happened to these planets that
designs
caused the
and stuff.
extinction event. That's my interest.
What were you thinking here, Kendrith?
Basically the exact same thing. And if Monroe's looking to get the power going, that would be something that he would be incredibly interested in.
Well, as the acting captain here, Lieutenant Commander Monroe, I think you should lead the away team to the space station, and take whoever you want. But
I will say the space stations, these places, this is old. This has happened a while ago. Some of these are hundreds of years. The stations have fallen into disrepair. They're inoperable. They're also degraded. Not all their orbits are stable. None of them have pressure. None of these ships had like life support and artificial gravity or any of those kinds of things. So it would mean EVA suits
Yes.
to beam in. Okay. I would also say certainly before one leaves the ships, you can also just do a system, like a star system scan.
Yes,
Go to
of
your
course.
sensors. You've got the Horizons onboard systems as well to scan around ahead of time. Those you'll have to roll for those, and I can tell you, you can do things like
So,
reason and science.
The other thing that I would want to scan for are the life signs.
Yes.
If there are any life
there's
signs,
still people that-
then perhaps if it's too crowded on the space stations or whatever,
Sure.
then I would be willing to
So,
lead.
If there are still life signs on the planet, I would like you to go and meet them.
Then I would like to.
That's
meet
why I wanted to send you to the
No,
planet.
I mean the
But,
light.
yeah.
Sure. So we've got the engineer Monroe.
but
get your team
importantly,
together.
Yeah.
this is one directive I want to give here. It's very important to me. Monroe, yes, I want you to lead an away team to the space station and take whoever you want, but make sure that our new specialist is on that team because I think his insight could really be helpful to you in.
Do I need to roll for an eye roll?
I mean, the commander is certainly able to assign, but it is your team, it is your department, your mission. Like in this case, you would be mission lead for this away team, but the commander would like you to take Pike along with you.
I think that as Pike is more adept at warp space mechanics
Well, and specifically power systems.
and specifically power systems.
Yes. This
Yes.
is why I think he
Okay.
would be an
All right.
invaluable
He's,
asset to your team.
To go in through his service record, which Haddock has obviously become a big fan of, Lieutenant Commander Pike is born in space, grew up on trading ships, and he's a jury rigger. He knows ships through and through. He helped design some of the work that went into the Intrepid and the Akira class ships that are out there, as well as having a real good understanding of just basic ship design, so going in through other cultures and the way
just wanna
no
see
matter
these
where
two
you end
go
up
at it.
going, space travel really only works so many different variations of ways. So he's a veteran, and
Okay.
he's been around for a very long time. The fact that he's a
taught
lieutenant
you
commander
everything he
just
knows.
means because he's never really settled down into one
Don't you start.
assignment.
Yeah.
But he's a professor at Starfleet Engineering, the Corps of Engineers. He is a valuable asset on the crew, and
I relay that.
even if
He
you
is,
don't
yes,
like him,
Yes, I agree with you.
just because he's always hugging you.
I agree with you, sir. He is a valuable asset. So yes, I would like to bring him onto the away mission along with Lieutenant Beau, because I feel like the three of us and
Okay, so-
Ensign Armstrong, if you'd like to be able to join us as well to kind of gain
so-
a much bigger perspective.
So while Monroe's getting the crew together, you wanted to do a scan.
I absolutely
around the
think
ship.
before we get out there, we should find out what's out there.
course.
So let's do some rudimentary scans from
the
here.
ship. Yeah.
Uh,
I'll assist.
So you,
Thank you.
reason or insight
Yeah.
plus a science roll, and you can take an assist from the Horizon sensor systems.
wonderful.
Which so what is your reason? Like what
I'm
would
going to say reason.
you
for
want to
sure.
do? Reason? What's your reason in science? What's it combined to?
15.
So 15. So you're going to take 2 d20s, and you're going to be rolling under 15. Each one under 15 counts as a success.
Science
Before we
for the
actually roll,
ship
let's
is-
build our dice pool as well.
Yeah.
Do you have xenolinguistics? That would work if you're on the planet and you're
Yeah.
looking at things.
Right. Or if I was on the
And
space
but
station. and looking through
astrometrics
stuff.
might come in handy if you're also trying to understand the origin of these asteroid strikes.
Absolutely.
Can I
That's-
I assist him in this?
You can assist them certainly as a commander. As we build the pool, let's see if anyone else has something they'd like to bring in.
Well, the ship, has 10 in
use the
sensors
ship and
and 3 in science.
Yeah, so 10 and 3, so that's 13. So you are going to get a ship die to roll.
Yep.
This one's going to be 13. Will be a success on that. And is
I would
someone
like to assist. Specifically, I also have a talent that I think comes into play here.
microphone?
Sorry, I would like to assist, and specifically, I have a talent that I think
Yeah.
comes into play here. I am an empath, and I know that this is long-range empathy going on
Yeah.
here, but several times we've seen, Counselor
You-
Troy detect things
You
using
don't,
her empathy.
I can, without even a roll, there is no life bigger than small fish left on the planet.
Wow.
The just your routine sensor scan when you came into the system, these are dead worlds undergoing mass extinction.
Gotcha.
Whatever complex life forms used to be on this world are wiped out.
And they're not on the
Long
space
gone.
stations, or they're gone.
The only
They're all
thing
gone.
left are some few hardy plant systems. They're small. They make a small blip on the sensor scans, but these worlds are still undergoing mass extinction in the process, and in only a century, these worlds will be barren. And they're undergoing.
So there's
they're-
no
they-
life forms.
Yeah, they're currently
as we
going through a nuclear winter right now. So there is no indication that there is any intelligent life left here. But there was some time ago. Anyway, give us that roll here.
All right. The ship did not help. I got one success.
You got one success. It was a difficulty of 1, so you do get that, but you won't be getting anything in it. Oh, I should have told you the difficulty before we rolled. Make sure I tell you that so you can build a proper dice pool. And you do, however, you were rolling for your focus. What is your science? 5? Was it a
5.
6 that you rolled, or was it under?
It was a 2, yeah.
It was a 2. So
Yeah.
you actually got a critical success because when you roll with focuses, it increases your critical range from just a 1 to being underneath the discipline number. Right. So you do gain that, and that counts there as
one crit.
as more than one success in this case. So I'll add another momentum in there. So the 2 planets being struck by extinction level impact events at the same time are astronomically improbable to have been coincidental. This is it's extremely peculiar. The heavy bombardment has left large amounts of heavy metal and iridium laced dust blowing through the atmosphere. Sensor readings from orbit will be difficult at best.
They might have went underground.
And so if you'd like to spend information, if you'd like more information, you can obtain with momentum.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. So I'm going to spend I'm going to spend 1 momentum.
So using your astrometrics understanding, you're able to look at the way the 2 intersecting orbits of these worlds work, and you're able to find that they've been cleared over time. The dual nature of these rotating planets have cleared all the surrounding asteroids from their orbit, and other debris that would have threatened them. Very unlikely. Unlike Earth, which passes through even comet trails on a regular basis, the orbital path of these 2 worlds is clear in this system. There are no naturally occurring asteroid belts or comets that would have accounted for the level of damage that happened to these worlds.
So it was artificial.
Do we have...
They were impacted by
something.
What appears to be asteroid impacts.
How good is our astrometrics lab?
Galaxy class, man. It's as good as you want it to be. I mean,
So,
you got a science of 3.
Not only is it as good as we want it to be, I specifically designed it to be.
Okay, good, because I have a theory.
But from here, you've learned all you can from orbit.
Yes.
Like the sensors are only going to work as much as they can with the iridium clouds blocking.
I have a
scans.
theory,
more could
because
be
based
learned
on
from
the
the surface.
asteroid impacts, I'm wondering if the computer can be able to extrapolate just a good estimation of sort of like kind of like the path of the asteroids that led to the impact, based on kind of like this sensor readings of how long ago the impact the impact crater was, what the material that was, and then a kind of basically
That'd be an
determine
extended
asteroid
work
path.
task to do the ballistics on this, to do like the CSI recreation on the holodeck. You do have an astrometrics lab.
That's why I thought the
like
astrometrics
you can
lab
see.
could help with that. Yeah.
And certainly it will take it'll take some time to do, and in the meantime, the survey teams can.
Well, I think
Do I
we can
need to roll
put
anything
we
to
can put
keep that-
some
get that going?
of our NPCs to work in the astrometrics lab, recreating that, while our important people go on away missions to learn firsthand.
Or at least into the closer to the atmosphere, gather some materials from there as well.
Great.
Do I need to roll anything to get that started, or no?
You have I'm going to make a work track here.
Yes.
So it's going to take a few rolls throughout time as we go through. But it's you can give me. Is this engineering or science?
Well, I was gonna suggest basically get some of my people and some of those people to basically kind of work together in the astrometrics lab.
Yeah.
I can lend you some people.
Yeah, so I'm just going to allow that right now to just be off screen, and we'll see how that goes. And if we need to throw in rolls to see the results of that, we'll let some time pass. But I'd like to move on and bring the other players into this now to set up this away team. So is it where are we interested in visiting?
Well, I'm going to stay on the ship. That way I can coordinate all the different OA teams that are going to different planets and to the space stations.
Yeah, you
But
got
you won't be
multiple
able to
teams.
stab anything.
You got,
Yes, I'm trying to avoid stabbing things this episode.
Yeah,
okay?
well, I mean, and the captain's place
the
is on the
captain,
bridge.
the captain left me a very special directive when he put me in charge.
Don't stab
You
anything.
got multiple department heads that are all going to be sending
Yeah.
in reports, and you can certainly use your command and presence
From
to
here.
get reports from them, and I'll roll assist rolls from those NPCs to give you answers.
So I'm going to let Lieutenant Commander Monroe lead the away team to the space station. Lieutenant Beau, if you're more interested in the space station, by all means you can go there. But I really want to know what caused these massive extinction events. And I think that could be learned more from the surface than the space.
I think your intuition was correct. I will beam down to the surface.
Then
And
you
I will
can,
relay
you
any
can lead
information.
that away team.
I will relay any information to you
Take
if
whoever
I
you
find
need.
anything
We will
on the,
be
on the
relaying
ship, or
information.
on
Let's
the
move
station's
to that
database.
scene. Let's beam down to this location now. So the camera does. Is it on the planet surface that we're going to? So the camera's panning over like windswept cliff faces and wrecked out skeleton remains of buildings. The which planet? There are two planets. One smaller that seem to have a larger population and city centers built around the coastlines, and a larger planet that had what appears to be a lesser population, but all centered around major city constructions. Large cities with a small population and many cities with a large population. So the large world had a small population. The small world had a large population. To kind of remember the differences between that. Which worlds are you interested in visiting? Keeping in mind that
you're
the
the
survey teams
science
are going to
officer.
both directions. You're situated between them.
Right.
Big world or small world?
Can we tell which one has like the most like apocalyptic impact?
They're both apocalyptic impact. They're both destroyed.
But one's not more than the other.
They're both on a scale of 1 to fucked up. They're all messed.
Okay.
Like there is like the destruction to both worlds is equally as devastating and catastrophic.
Right. Are we all beaming down
and so
together,
you're-
or are we all beamed down?
You're
separate
going to
teams?
the space station.
Yes,
He's going
okay.
to the planet.
So the
Okay, you're going to the planet. Okay.
the small world had many coastal cities and seems to be just in terms of the road patterns and buildings. At least that world, if not more technologically advanced, was further along on where they were in their development, and the large world, the scans that you were able to get just seem to show a smaller population clustered in bigger centers. That's all the information you get from orbit.
I'm going to go with the small world. I think that there are going to be more clues for me down
So
there.
the camera's panning across windswept coastlines with dust and gray clouds and remains of skeletal out like not sky sky rises that are like 20 stories tall and just gutted out, and there's a ruined out tree that have been like petrified from the nuclear winter. It's blowing like an iridium snow. It's not really water. It's like calcified. It's still safe to spend time, but you wouldn't want to live here. And then the transporter beams beam down, and you and your team beam down onto the surface, and the tricorders come out and they start going around.
Yeah.
You should
Yeah, I've told them to take samples of everything.
Yeah, they're getting like vials. They're filling in with the soil. They want to check out the buildings over there and see if there's any records of who the civilization was, and they all start kind of fanning out, and they're excited. Like this is what they came out here for. Not like fucking fighting Klingons and all this other stuff. Like it's supposed
Science
to be,
at its
supposed to be
best.
like,
Exploration.
This is
Or
a real
science.
mystery, and they want to break it out.
I am on board with that. I'm just like that. I can barely speak. I am as excited as they are, but
Hey,
I am
first
the lead.
contact is a thing you always dream of in your, career.
And it won't be my first time. So
so-
Why don't
notch
you
in your
roll for
belt.
me here an insight and science? I mean, the difference between insight is people, reason is like the logic and math and things like that. And rolling 2 dice.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead and roll 2.
Well, I have succeeded with one at least. I have critically succeeded with both.
Excellent.
Nice.
So you
In my element, as it were.
get some more momentum thrown in there.
Cool.
These worlds definitely did have sentient species living on them, and as you're getting reports from your counterparts on the large world, what is immediately apparent as your two teams begin comparing tricorder readings, these were two separate sentient beings. They weren't the same race on these two worlds. They were different and seemed to be quite different biologically as well. The buildings, or the use, some of the tools they're finding. These were they evolved on completely different life trees.
So not a Romulan Vulcan type scenario.
The smaller world clearly had a larger population, and there's a lot more surviving structures in small groups. Like the outskirts of the city you're in, whereas the large world, there's not much that leaves anything behind other than large industrial structures that have remained. But any remnants of cities may have been too small to have survived the destruction. And you can also continue to spend momentum if you like. Whenever I answer a question, whenever I stop, I'm like, tell me more.
Do you mind?
Yeah,
I would love
course.
to know more. I very much want to know more.
So the first question I have is about the precipitation.
Yeah.
The precipitation, I want to know if that is naturally occurring as part of the system or if that's a result of the impact.
Okay, so that's a different line of thought. My answers were coming more from the civilization that
Okay,
the
sure.
anthropologists were pulling. You can absolutely roll again with reason to go into life forms and ecology. I have different threads for that.
Well, and that was kind of where I'm coming from
Yeah.
with it, is that if they are on different life trees, is it as a result of is it environment? Is that part of it?
All right. So as you go off to go look for like there's a cave and it seems to be some mushrooms that have survived this nuclear winter, but they're their gene, like the scans are showing everything's degrading and dying and nothing seems to be multiplying anymore. We go to space and we're going to be on with the engineering team in their EVA suits as
So which planet is the space station orbiting? The big one or the small one?
The space stations and the debris are they're derelict and adrift, and they seem to be
Just caught in
a
an
similar orbit to where the horizon is, where they're just drifting geostationary between these two worlds, and just from the 1,000 years that have passed, it's hard to tell exactly which planet they may have originated on.
Sure. Okay.
Interestingly, it seems that the technology is identical, but the species were different.
So they were all using the same technology.
They were sharing
The
stuff.
third.
So you beam down onto the space station as space station. This isn't like these are. There's no gravity. There's no pressurization. These are like mirror. They're just tubes with everything is broken and rotted. They ran on like lithium batteries that are 1,000 years old, and this is it's a husk.
Commander Pike, would you
Yes.
happen to know essentially would our tricorders be enough to be able to power this station? I mean, is that how much of how less of a power drain it was? Can we determine that?
The two of you can roll an engineering task
Yeah,
to get to work on
I
it.
think we're gonna start rolling here.
Yeah, I'll assist you in that one. I won't.
So what am I rolling, Justin?
Let's do engineering and reason for now. We need to find out if this is even possible.
All right, so mine would be a 15.
So who's going to be the one actually doing the work and who's giving the assist?
I'd be doing the work, and I'm
I'd be doing the
assuming
assist, yeah.
Okay.
Steve's assisting.
All right.
All right.
So yeah, mine would
Pike,
be a 15.
You start going through the tricorder and trying to scan whatever technology's on here. Your mag boots moving
Just
around.
rolled one critical success and one failure.
Okay, so there's no power lines connecting anything. You're not going to get power to this vessel. There's nothing to power. What you are able to find on your tricorders are a few magnetic disk memory hard drives that may not be completely destroyed from the exposure to space and radiation. You might be able to glean some information if you bring it back to the ship and run it through like your crypto
just-
programs and try and reconstruct them bit by bit. But I mean, these ships are
There's no way to be able to power this back up.
They're debris at this point.
Okay.
There's nothing to power. Even if you got a battery running, it's not connected to anything. The battery lines are broken. The computers aren't running. They were all magnetically run. They've all been wiped out. But you are able to find like the universal translator on your scanners are able to read what's going on. You're able to actually glean at least that this the name. You get a name from because you did get one critical success, and I want to make sure I get the correct one here because we are dealing with two.
Steve also didn't even.
Oh, you didn't roll
his
your
assist.
roll your assist.
Oh,
roll
sorry.
as
We
well.
might have another success here.
So I just roll 1?
Just roll 1 when you're rolling to assist.
I apologize. I thought, okay. That is 4, so a success.
Yeah, so great. I'm just going to throw another momentum here, and you can you can go for momentum spend here. You are able to come across the tricorder is able to pick up on some iconography and some information, but it's tough. It's labels, so it's not much that you can pan up on, and at least a manual that's still floating in the air that you can bring down. It's just been there for however long, and the tricorder reads up that the race that ran this station referred to themselves as the Reloo Shall, or walking on. I've got the translation here because it's the universal translator, so of course they'd figure it out.
How do you spell that?
Walking waters is what they refer to themselves as. RL''LOWO. Reloo Shall. SHAL.
Oh, okay.
Have you reported this back to the?
Yeah. I've yeah.
And the carbon dating on these manuals seem to date back to, I mean, almost 100,000 years ago. These things.
100,000.
Yes. Yeah. We're dealing with a ancient, like at the time of the Takan Empire, kind of old.
Wow. Okay.
There's a reason why these things are so like degraded and rotten. So you've got a name at least of the Reloo Shall. If they didn't run the station, they at least built it.
How big is the station?
Like I said, like International Space Station.
So
Like
essentially,
it
it
could
could fit into our cargo
It
bay.
could fit about 20 people. Yeah, you can beam it into your cargo bay.
Instead of taking logs, let's take the whole damn thing.
Why not? I mean,
Into our cargo
I
bay.
mean, originally my thought was actually I was going to get the rest of my team
Well, I mean,
to.
the International Space Station is 2 football fields. So you're not going to get that into your cargo bay. The cargo bay wasn't that big, and you've got stuff in
Shuttle
your
bay?
cargo bay. You can bring it into the shuttle bay, but it'll mean removing the shuttles and putting them into storage.
How
Worth
many
it?
shuttles?
How important is it to bring this space station?
Well, my original
into
thought was
your
essentially
ship?
I was going to get my team to be able to scan it with tricorders. So essentially,
You are
if we-
scanning with tricorders.
Well,
It's a
no,
wreck.
like
more thorough
an imaging
Massive.
scan, so that if I wanted to be able to recreate this in the holodeck, I could.
Okay.
But if we could be able to transport it.
The rest of your
into the
team is
bay-
very politely trying to suggest that that's going to lead nowhere. Where are you, Armstrong? I'm not trying to. We do have to move the game around, and 1, we don't have time for that, and 2, it won't lead anywhere. There is nothing on this station. Everything's broken.
Okay.
It's a wreck. It's derelict. It's debris.
Bring
You've got
back
the name
what
of
you
it,
can find, and we'll study
Right?
it here.
You're
All
not,
right,
you're
I'll
not
t-
here for an extended stay. You're just here to do surveys of the system, try and
Okay.
learn what you do, and if necessary, a proper scientific team could be sent here for an extended duration to learn more about the planet.
Okay,
You're just
Now,
here to
I
learn.
have a-
I'll take back the hard drives.
I have a
and
question.
Yeah, bring back the hard drives to the ship.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. You were about to ask Lieutenant Armstrong where he is, but I have a question.
You have a question. You can spend momentum if you want to get more from what they were learning.
Yeah.
as well.
So you said that the space station was approximately 100,000 years old,
Yes.
right? And now we're looking at this extinction event, and that's a very narrow window.
The extinction event has been going on for millennia.
Oh, okay.
You've come in at a point where there's still life on the planet, but it's dying out. You've come in the narrow window. Cosmologically, time where we're dealing with millions and billions of years, a few 100,000 years is still a blip.
nothing, yeah.
And
Gotcha.
so this species, at least from the carbon dating, at least this station was built before there was any civilization or life on Earth. Well, not life on Earth, but before civilization had risen up. It was 100,000 years ago BC, or before Common Era. So we're talking 100,000, 200.
And it's
Carry
fair
on.
to say that it was observing the planets didn't build it.
It's hard to tell what the. Oh no! This came from the worlds. It came from the civilization
it's
on the
the same
planet.
technology.
It's their technology. It matches what you're seeing on the planet side.
But in
These are their
regards to
stations.
like the extinction event, essentially this was built way before then.
Basically, we
these
walked
planets
in at the
died,
tail
these,
end of
these
the
planets died
extinction
100,000
event.
years ago. Whatever befell this planet is ancient.
Okay.
Truly ancient, and there's a reason why these things seem so old and broken down. Is they are old and they are broken down. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off with that. That's just the age of it.
That's fair.
Is
Armstrong, which away team did you want to go with?
Oh, I'm with Beau's crew.
Yeah.
Explaining
the planet.
Explaining the planet.
So I'm gonna hail Beau's crew and ask him if he's learned anything about what caused the extinction event.
Armstrong, you want to take this one?
My tricorder tells me indeterminate.
Oh.
well, you want to roll and find out what your tricorder tells you?
Sure.
Yeah.
So that'll
What
be.
are you checking specifically here?
The cause of the extinction event. Obviously, it was massive orbital bombardment, but I want to know more.
Yeah, so
about
you need
that.
to get more into finding historical records, maybe working on that hard drive that was brought over. You're getting more data from your survey teams, and the ballistics information from astrometrics is coming in. So maybe Armstrong is heading up the lab on the horizon as all the information is coming together, and you're the guy trying to piece these puzzle pieces together.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So why don't we?
I'm not on an away team. I'm still on the ship.
You're on. Let's put you on the ship. So if we got
Okay.
someone on different tasks, so like all these department heads, they're all finding like we've got plants that are dying. Life on this world isn't going to be around for much longer. We've got a name. We've got 2 different species. We've got asteroid impacts. Trying to find out the directions they came in. The orbit seems to be clear. Where did these asteroids come from? And you're looking for the corner piece
Right,
to
right.
put this puzzle together, right?
Okay.
And so that sounds definitely like reason is going to
Yep.
be used because it's logic.
There's going to be reason, and I'm going to guess science.
Well, command can also work as well because
Oh,
you're
good,
working.
'cause I have a bad
you're working in a
science
position
team.
where you're
Yeah.
you're delegating
Right,
and
right.
coordinating all these
Okay.
answers, and you've got a team of people around you.
Yeah, you may be
Okay, so
ensign,
I'm
but
gonna-
you're in charge of the lower decks of the.
You're still
Beau's
higher
crew.
than them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, so I'll use reason and command and team
And
dynamics.
here's
And in a non-combat situation, this is actually a wonderful time to kind of hone your command abilities.
Here's an interesting thing here. You can actually, for a command role, you can actually use my command instead of your own.
What's your command?
My command is a 5.
Oh.
So
if you're present with him, that's
yeah,
No, but
I've been
he's-
asking what's
Yeah.
caused this
Yeah.
for.
you can also use the ship's
wanna know.
computers.
Okay.
Where's the ship
So
stats?
you can
wanna
use
keep
my
that
command
front and
stat
center?
instead of your
All
stat.
right. So that's me. That's you helping out, I guess. Is that
You
how
get-
that works?
He's using a talent to
okay.
use his command stat.
So I got
for your
one
command
dice
role.
for that. I'm going to use team
You-
dynamics as
you
my
start
focus.
with 2 because you're the
Okay.
primary player.
Right. So then I
And-
get another one for team dynamics as my focus. 'cause-
Cool. So that's 3 die,
And then what's the ship?
and you're
die?
getting an assist roll from the ship.
So that would be computers and what?
Have a look. Computers and I'm imagining science. So
That's what's-
so that'll be 13. Is for the ship roll.
Okay. Luckily, I have a different die here. All right. So I'm trying to get under 15.
And one of them under 13.
That's a success.
Yeah. So
We got 3 successes, one of which is critical,
Yep.
and 1 failure.
Which was the failure?
So-
That was one of my rules.
Oh, okay.
Cool. How many successes did you have over the difficulty? Was another difficulty 1? So how many successes?
Well,
did
we
you
got a
have?
critical success, so that counts as 2, yeah?
Yeah.
So we got 4 successes.
Usually, well, what the critical success can also use is it can generate an advantage that can be used to lower difficulties of future rolls for other people. It can maybe the advantage here is you find the corner piece.
Okay.
And so now all future rolls dealing with the language and civilizations, you're gonna learn something here. And how many total successes did you have?
4.
You had 4. So I'm gonna throw 2 momentum into that pool. Nice. The world with a larger population, small world, is where the Rolol shower from.
Okay.
And they had technology much more widespread among their population. It seems to be like in all the small cities that are being surveyed by the teams, they've all got the same level of 22nd century technology, right? The example of like access to computers and education, architecture, whereas the large world had the same technology, but it was centralized in very centered industry points. The technology wasn't necessarily used by every member of that species. You also get a name of that species. They called themselves the Us.
The us?
And sketches that they're finding and some of the remains that they found that were frozen in the impacts and stuff, like you get like those shadow impacts from those big fireballs. Their species, whereas the Relol Shal were humanoid and seem to be descended, like if we are evolution of like the same genus as apes, they were more canine but humanoid still. The Us were much different. They were they had 5 arms. They were very circular all around. So they were incredibly, and it seemed to be around what you're finding in as you're looking. There was a lot of variations of how they looked and sizes and colors and things. The primary
It's a very alien.
The primary asteroid impact areas seem to be where the juncture of large continental scale transportation lines would converge. Your corner piece suggests that these were deliberate asteroid strikes used as weapons of mass destruction. These,
okay.
as you're looking at the ballistics information, the impacts are not random. They're targeted.
They wiped each other out.
There is a lot of momentum you can use for more information.
Can we check in on the
Did they wipe each other out?
There is not enough information to determine that. But the Relol Shal, there's a lot of literature and information of uplifting the Us. And it appears that the Relol Shal shared their technology with the Us. And the Us seemingly used that technology to escalate into a war between those worlds.
This is a story of why the Prime Directive is an important thing. That's what this mission is about.
That's your corner piece. That's you've been looking for where these asteroids came from. War.
War never changes.
I want to know more about the Us.
Okay.
Trying to figure out how to ask this.
Who started the war? From the logs. Can
Yeah.
you determine that?
It appears that the Us were the aggressors,
So,
but it was mutual annihilation.
They both did.
Okay. I can't.
Is it clear that it actually was asteroids, or was it?
I was about to
weapons?
ask that.
They used
yeah.
they captured asteroids using technology that the
Tractor
Relol
beams.
Shal had built,
Right.
and then used them to sling them or push them into the other worlds.
Sure.
And
rather than building missiles, they used asteroids as missiles. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Do as Clendathu does.
you can continue to spend momentum, or if we've got teams still on the planet, and you're working on the hard drive, Steve, we can look into. You want to find out what was the question about what caused the event, or was the asteroids caused the event as weapons?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we were trying to figure
Now
out
we wanna know
what
why.
led them to start throwing rocks at each other.
Yeah.
What was
It
the
seems
tipping point?
Haddock's going down the right path here. The Relol Shal tried to uplift the Us when their space program brought them to their world.
But in doing
And
so,
the
they
weapon-
probably
the technology-
trampled all over their
the
culture.
technology that the Relol Shal built was used to clear the orbit to protect their worlds.
Right.
And the Us turned that same technology to weaponize it and turned it into a conflict between the worlds. The Us brought together their technology into centralized industrial platforms that they then used to attack the Relol Shal as invaders.
Can
Here's
I
a
tell
question.
from the logs that this conflict has been going on for a long time, or was it all of a sudden like Rochelle was like, oh shit?
There was a time of exploration and getting to know each other. I mean, the records are shredded, but
So the
when conflict happened, it happened swiftly. But it took time for them to get the technology up to the levels where they were on par with the Relol Shell.
So essentially, it's like the Relol Shell had like no warning. All of a sudden, bam, asteroid
And then
in Nuketown.
And then they began to use the asteroids on the planet of 5 turns, where the us are from, the large world, and
Yeah,
back
it's
and
like,
forth,
wait,
and then,
you throw a rock at us, we're going to throw more at you.
and then they annihilated each other. And at this point, the ecological teams are reporting in that these planets are going to be sterile. The climatological damage it's beyond extreme. There's only really life being found in whatever the ice-free portions of the ocean, but there's little living. And
How far deep do our scans go?
maybe life could go on for a few thousand more years as it currently is, but it's not sustainable. These worlds will die and they'll be sterile.
His question was, how deep do our scans go? Is it possible that there's something
That they're
either under
underground.
the surface or under the water that is hiding and our scans
Because
can't...
they said
Well,
they
I
were
mean,
the
your
walking
orbital
waters.
scans don't penetrate much beyond atmosphere. All you're able to really get is your survey teams on the surface of the root. I mean, how deep do the scans go? I mean, as far as the tricorders can run.
Dig a hole and throw a tricorder in it.
Yeah.
Is there any indication that people have escaped this system?
No, they didn't have the technology. It was sublight.
there any
They only had
indication-
enough space technology to get from
To the
planet to
other
planet.
planets.
They basically got as far as going to the moon. Their moon just happened to be a world with a life form on it.
Is there any indication that they may have survived somehow by going underground or underwater?
Certainly, there's indications that there were survivors from the war, but those were hundreds of thousands of years ago. And since the ecological damage to the planets wiped out whoever survived, there is records that appear that you can see of smaller encampments and tribal clusters that tried to keep themselves alive in caves that they're exploring, but they didn't last long. Once the war had happened, the damage was done, and at that point there was no way to repair the damage. There was no way to get off those worlds and leave, and everyone, the few that remained, unlike what happened on Earth, did die out in the nuclear winter. Your scans are sensitive enough that they would be able to pick up complex life forms on the planet. And there's nothing.
Understood.
And how much,
I want to... No, sorry.
I would say, like, how much, like, I mean, we've been down there for a while. Mm-hmm. How much, like, is there, are we in danger of, like, radiation or... Like is like
I mean,
are we-
nuclear winter isn't radiation; it's just clouds and cold and freezing.
Is there any planetary effects?
There's no sunlight coming to the
long-term?
planet. Long term, no, you can't.
Okay,
These
all right.
these planets.
So we're not in any
It
danger
could be
health-wise.
possible to terraform these worlds and bring them back to life over
okay.
a 100-year plan, but there's no radiation because they didn't use nuclear weapons. These
Well,
just asteroids.
it was just more of like I was concerned of like are our team's gonna like
This wasn't
get
fallout. This was dirt kicked up into the sky by these massive impacts.
Okay.
Have we found any minerals or isotopes that we don't already have in our catalogs?
Good question.
I mean,
That's why he's the science
You've got a
officer.
lot. You're finding some interesting uses that they came up with alloys and the technology that they were using. I mean, it's nothing that you don't already have in the Federation, but there are definitely historians that will be very interested in coming and really maybe even setting up a forwarding base on this planet to learn more about what they have.
So, 2 things I still want to do while we're here. I want to find the technology that was turned into a weapon that moved these asteroids, into the slingshot of these asteroids into the planets. I want to try to isolate that technology or any information about that technology if it still exists. Because somebody else could come along and then take that.
My fear is that if that technology was that advanced at that point to be able to just throw asteroids around,
That's
They wouldn't have to be-
if any 24th century technology
I mean,
could be able to turn that into a planet
some of these
thrower.
weren't.
yeah. Well, that's like this is close to Romulan space. I don't want to leave that technology for them to find.
Yeah.
So I want to find that technology if it still exists.
All right.
And I also want to
Ken,
learn.
you got something you want to say?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just agreeing.
I also want to learn as much as possible about these two civilizations before, before evidence of their existence is wiped out.
So you spend some time, and
I do
as
have a
time
question.
passes, and you start to learn as much as you can. I've told you what I know.
Sorry, did we use
I'm
up
going to
a...
have a personal mission. I'm going to take as much information as I can so that I can learn the language.
So,
like to speak the language.
So you spend some time here, and your survey teams don't really show much out. Everything seems to be destroyed, derelict. It is frustrating to work with the interference and the metal that's in the atmospheres. Your survey teams can only do so much on the ground, and it's a little too dangerous for you to be sending shuttles to be flying around and doing proper surveys. A more specialized team could learn more, and certainly a signal back to Starfleet to follow up on this world might be prudent. But with what you have, since your mission
We
is
need to
more
send a
broad,
science vessel
you don't-
to this.
Yeah.
you don't have a
That's-
whole
yeah.
lot going on.
I'm curious how this 5-armed creature, like, are these evolved on these planets? Like, are they both native?
The
Do we
Relal
know?
are native to their world, and the us are native to Five Turns, the large world.
Okay.
But you can give me here a reason science roll here, if you want to check into their biology.
Yeah, I'm
was
just
my
curious how
question
this
earlier.
5-armed, because most of our
We're
aliens-
over time on the episode, so I'm gonna just tell you to roll the dice,
Okay.
so I can tell you yes or no.
Womp
Assist.
Womp womp. So, would you like to assist here
I
with
would,
the
because
biology?
that was my question
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
No, that was an 18.
Yep.
And your ship computer systems. Give me
Ship is
science and
rolling
computers.
6.
I rolled some water into the ship system. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah,
rolled-
so
I rolled
the
a 6 for the ship.
you got.
Oh,
so
that's
you-
a
you
13
get-
would be for the.
You get the one success there. I mean, there's unanswered questions about the evolution on these planets. On one hand, they appear to be on the surface completely different, but while the us and the Relal Shal evolved independently from one another on their worlds, there is some life on the world's plant-based and remains of some of the smaller animals that share DNA markers between them.
Okay.
And I mean, the guy who comes up with that goes like, it makes no sense, and I don't have any answers.
Okay.
That is odd.
and
there's
so-
there's things that share DNA markers on both worlds.
It's weird. That's his official report. Real weird.
Really?
At this point,
Well,
I'm
I'm going to call Starfleet and report everything we've found.
you still have some more survey. You got a Shackleton Expanse to explore.
Yeah. But we have enough information to be able to send a science vessel
You can
to
absolutely
explore.
send a report on this planet.
I'm going to send a detailed report on the planet, and I'm also going to put in my report that
No one
I
died?
recommend a science vessel with a specialized archaeological team
Good point.
come look at these in more detail soon.
As you're sending your report, you get an encoded transmission from Narendra Station asking for the status on the USS Susquehanna, the runabout that was delivering Pike several weeks ago.
We met up with them several weeks
They,
ago. They dropped off Pike and
They're
left.
wondering if you have any information because they haven't reported in several weeks.
They were
and
supposed to go
they're-
straight back
they're
to
being
Narendra
declared
Station,
missing.
correct?
Yeah.
And
we
the
left
last
them weeks
people
ago.
that saw that runabout was us.
It seems that way. And
How far?
because you're far enough from Narendra Station, real-time transmission is a little difficult with more dedicated subspace channels set up. So the instructions coming in from Narendra are asking a report on the status, if you have any, on the runabout, and if you don't, to check in on them
That's a-
because they seem to be missing.
That's a
And if you
big
can
fat
find
nope.
their
We
most
haven't seen
recent
them.
location.
Well, we saw them a couple weeks ago. You scanned their ship. Did you not? There was nothing wrong with their ship, was there?
Wow, it's a standard ship-to-ship scan. Everything was fine.
How many people were on board?
Depending on the loadout, a runabout can have. I mean, it has a standard crew of 4 to 6, but it can have up to, if it's retrofitted, cargo capacity for up to a crew of 40 if they're transporting teams.
But we don't know how many people.
You don't know
were
what their
on-
outfit
okay.
was.
Well, yeah, acknowledged. We will. We'll look into it.
Okay.
And then
you sent your-
my last act before we finish this thing will be to plot a course for where we met
The last
the
known
last
coordinates.
the last known coordinates where we met them.
Yeah.
Cool. So,
Though that's weeks ago.
are you all
Their-
up on the bridge?
Their trail
yeah.
will
Yeah,
not be.
yeah, we're back up now.
So you're all up on the bridge, and you've sent your report on the binary planets, the Trojan worlds, the lesson to be learned on the Prime Directive, and that you're going to check in on the Susquehanna and their whereabouts. And Armstrong at the con.
Beep, boop, boop. Yep.
Boop, boop, boop. So you're at the helm, and Stephen Prince is on the tactical beam as proximity alert goes off. And before he can even finish his sentence, Captain, a large, strong energy, boom, the whole ship gets rocked. And it starts listing to starboard. Like, it's, everyone's shaking around in their ship. It's like all the forward momentum you had from the impulse engines comes to a hard stop. Like you just went into a brick wall, and now the whole ship is moving off starboard. And when that happens, because this is a surprise round, and you don't get a move yet, I'm going to roll the attack on the ship. It's a 8, 9. One of them was a success. One of them was a success. So that's 7.
Wait, is that good for us or bad?
That's
for us?
bad for you.
bad for us.
One of them
Ah,
actually
damn it.
hit the ship. So the ship dealt.
More
Although
shaking in our chairs.
it
Oh,
wasn't.
yeah.
It wasn't like a critical thing. So we have
Oh, he says.
Oh,
it
by the way,
now.
I was messing up on the dice before when we were playing the other campaigns. 1s and 2s count as 1s and 2s. 3s and 4s are blank. 5 and 6s count as 1 plus effect. They also
Not
count as
just effect.
damage.
It's
and,
also
and,
damage.
and they activate an effect. In this case, the effect is high yield. If I roll a 5 or a 6, I activate the quality of high yield, which if it deals damage to the ship, it will deal an extra breach. So I rolled 2, 3, 4, 5. 4s are blank. 3s are blank. And then another 5 is a 6. Your resistance is 6. So I rolled exactly the amount of your resistance, so your ship doesn't take immediate damage. But one of them was an effect, and I am going to say because the shields were down and you were caught off guard, I have... I got the complication range. I need the ship damage systems here. That's right. There. 6. Oh, wait, it's a D20. It's a 1 and 20. 10 is the structure. Oh, perfect. So the structure takes a hit. When the structure gets disabled, that affects life support and gravity. Inertial dampeners are part of the structure. So yeah, everyone gets flown. There's decks are reporting. There's no hull breaches, but decks are reporting. People are flying up into the air. Gravity's gone out. There's life support failures on a couple of the lower decks, and you can see if you're the captain, you're there, and you see all like the red lights coming up on your armrest because of all the damage reports that are coming in. And just before you can react, as the ship is still moving real fast starboard away from one of the planets towards another, another detect goes off on Steven's board, and the ship gets hit from the port side. And another thing hitting it, and now the ship stops moving as it starts to kind of push in the port direction, but the thing that's pushing you is starboard direction, and the ship is just, it gets hit again. And when that gets hit again, that second jolt, everyone give me a security and discipline roll.
Okay.
It's a difficulty 0, but, with the structural damage,
discipline?
let's throw in a complication. Difficulty's now 1
You said
because of the inertial
security and
dampeners are out.
discipline? Security and what?
Security and, control.
Okay.
Or fitness. Of course, it's fitness. Because you're being thrown around. It's a physical idea.
Fitness.
Fitness.
and security.
Fitness security.
I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So we're rolling one of these. Okay. So fitness and security. That's
I succeeded.
Okay, so you succeeded. We got one. You're rolling 2 dice.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's a proper task.
One success.
Security and...
One success. Okay. So the science officer is fine. He holds his station. What'd you get, Steve?
2 successes.
2 successes. Okay, you handle it.
I got a 1 that's bad, and then a
One is good.
One is
good.
good.
14's
One's
bad.
good.
14 is good. One is okay.
This
So one is
security
great.
and...
Security and fitness.
I pass on both.
Okay, you pass on
Yeah,
both.
so I
And Ken,
failed
how
on
did you do?
Pass on both.
Okay, so you all hold yourself together as the ship gets rocked around. But the when that happens, the second attack comes in, and this time, all 3 succeeded.
Shit.
Okay, so 1 to 7, and that's going to generate, in my case, a little threat. And I'm going to spend 2 threat to deal an extra amount of damage here.
Oh, man.
So that I'm doing it properly. So this is
I'm going to. No,
Yeah,
I want to spend momentum
yeah.
to reduce the stress in engineering.
We will handle that in the next episode because right before we finish, the ship takes 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 damage.
Are you kidding me?
And
Your resistance is 6. So that means I hit you twice. Because every 5 over your resistance deals a breach. And high yield gives an extra breach for each breach dealt. So, get ready.
now he's using the rules correctly.
This is
all
the
excited.
cliffhanger for this episode. Before we will come back in episode 2, and you guys will all get a reaction to this. We'll go top of the round, but just before we cut to credits in this cliffhanger episode, you take damage to your. I have it here. 15 is the structure.
Again.
This is at a breach,
Again.
though. The structure takes a breach. 9 is not structure, it's your sensors. Oh, shit. How are you supposed to know what's coming? And then 15. Oh, no. 15 is structure. Shit. And then the last one is an 8, which is sensors again. Okay, so I was just really punishing to those 2 things. So I will look up
Who
the
left
exact...
the window open?
So a whole lot of shit's going to go down here with the damage. I'll look them up between episodes, but structures are basically hull breaches reported on multiple decks, Captain. And I'm actually going to have to roll to see people are going to get injured now, and injuries mean deaths. You are wedged between 2 repulsor beams being emanated from the planet. Your characters don't know that, but we do. How are you going to get out of this one, folks? We'll find out in the next episode of the Tug of War here on the Terrible
I
Warriors.
say mutiny, right, guys?
Mutiny against what?
The ship.
Captain's doing fine.
Against the energy
Yes,
beams.
it's a ship, yeah.
All right, at a loss for words, our trusted captain,
Joshua Barbeau playing Commander Conal Haddock.
our helmsman, who just wanted to do one thing right,
And Steve Armstrong, played by Brent Morris.
down in engineering wondering what the hell's going on up there.
Damn it, Jim, I'm an engineer, not a... Oh, wait, no, we need an engineer. Lieutenant Commander Adam Monroe, played by Steve Saylor.
And here, back off a little bit.
Our science officer, Lieutenant Bo Lassa, played by Velvet Duke.
Science can't help you now. Wait, it probably can. And from our Patreon rewards program,
Ken playing Kendrith Pike.
we'll see you next time on Chapter 2 of the Tug of War, right here on the Terrible Warriors.
Oh, God.
The Terrible Warriors has new episodes out every week on Tuesdays. And next week, the thrilling conclusion to this intense 2-parter, the Tug of War. I'm sure Commander Haddock has it all under control. Follow us on Twitter at Dice Warriors, and if you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more, consider becoming a supporter on Patreon at patreon.com/Terrible Warriors. Patreon supporters got access to a pre-gaming debrief for this campaign, as well as a debrief that will be available next week following the conclusion. And send a little love to Modiphius' way. They're the ones who make this game, and you can sign up for the Living Campaign today by signing up for that mailing list, and you will get these adventures and can play along with the rest of the community. Of course, hang out in our Discord channel and tell us what we're doing wrong. We love to hear back from you and hear the feedback and the podcasts that you're working on and the games that you're playing. Greetings, citizens of Alpha Complex. May I have your attention, please? Great news! You have been selected to take part in a new initiative designed for added fun. Our friend Computer has invited you to a bonus mandatory voluntary session in 2 weeks' time. On March 20th, you will participate in a new orientation session to reacquaint you with the wonderful world that is Alpha Complex. To help ease your journey through, we have selected 4 citizens to follow through on the regular comings and goings. Among those loyal citizens will be special guest Adam Bash, the creator of the Sayer podcast, which is in no way similar at all to the Paranoia role-playing game. This special event will be available to you in 2 weeks' time. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Subscription to the Terrible Warriors is mandatory. And of course, for further in-depth information, always refer to your now. And don't forget that no matter what happens, always remember to the computer is your friend, and fun is mandatory. Today's Terrible Warriors and your crew of the Horizon are Joshua Barbeau, Brent Morris, Velvet Duke, Steve Saylor, Ken Reels from Patreon, and Justin Ecock. And we will return next week for the finale of Star Trek Adventures Tug of War, right here on the Terrible Warriors.